Joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is Hani Rashwan. He's co-founder and CEO of crypto investment firm 21.co. Welcome back, Hani.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for being here again. So you're out with a new report about the state of crypto. What's your 2023 outlook?
Our 2023 outlook remains quite positive, and it's bolstered by some of the things that we're seeing in our ETPs in January. So 21.co is the parent company of 21 Shares, which is the world's largest issuer of crypto exchange-traded products. And we're already seeing a lot of renewed interest and, more importantly, inflows and buying activity across all of our assets, including some brand new products that we've launched. And launching new products tends to betray how bullish we feel in the medium term here. We think 2023 is going to be a long year. We think we're still in the throes of winter. There's still quite a few things that need to be resolved. But by and large, we are comforted by the stability of the entire system for the past few months and the outlook ahead, especially given some of the crazy headwinds that we've experienced, not just in Q4 with the collapse of FTX and some of the more prominent players, but even earlier in 2022.
Yeah, I want to look here at some of the correlation charts we have of I guess you provided with Bitcoin and other asset classes, and of course we're about to see the Fed raise. When I say about to see, we're most likely going to see the Fed raise 25 basis points and probably continue another 25 basis points after that. That's what the market expects. You view this as potentially bullish? Is that how I'm to interpret what's going on here?
I do. I also, I think you said this earlier in the program, Lawrence, 25 basis points is expected. Some of the price action that's happening more recently with Bitcoin is probably taking that into account. So as long as we don't see something crazy out of the expected 50 basis points or higher, it should be fine and it should continue in this manner. It's sort of how we're taking a look at this. The other part of this that's super important is that we are not immune to the global economy. And it should be stated that just in the past month, the data that's coming back is far more positive than we initially thought. The U.S. Economy grew on a GDP, a real basis in the fourth quarter by almost 3%. And the data out of Europe today, for the Eurozone out of Eurostat, which I think was released today, also indicates that the Eurozone's economy grew in Q4 when the wide consensus was a contraction.
To be sure, it was a contraction of, they were expecting a contraction of 0.1%. It grew by 0.1%. It's still relatively flat. I mean, we're not talking, 1% up versus 1% expected down. It was just sort of like, meh. Nonetheless, here we are, with you're kind of bullish on the majors, I assume on ETH as well. What about the alts?
We're seeing inflows into the alts as well, but let's say into the bigger alts. We're seeing a lot of interest in Binance Coin, in Solana. Obviously, a lot of attention has been put on exchange activities. And so some of the top exchanges that have a little bit more trust in them have been performing better. And what Solana's development across the board in their ecosystem, in their developer ecosystem, has been exemplary. And we're starting to see some of that come in both the price action as well as inflows.
Now, you have some issue here with OFAC sanctions on and what it will mean for ETH. Can you explain?
We personally have issues with this, or
no? I'm just saying, like, what do you see with
just in the overall construction?
Yeah.
I think with respect to OFAC and Ethereum proof of stake in general, there's going to be a lot of let's say unresolved, unanswered, open questions post-staking, with a lot of regulators looking at this in fairly different ways. One of the main issues that we're going to have is that in some interactions, you won't necessarily know the counterparty or some of the infrastructure that you may be built on. And that may lead to some rather strange behaviors where you want to be completely compliant with OFAC, but it may become more difficult. I think a lot of this stuff is going to be resolved over time. We're going to see some changes, and it's just a little bit early on that. So it's not too concerning from our perspective.
All right. And the metaverse also got a lot of attention this year at tech events like this Consumer Electronics Show this year. Even in Davos, a lot of a word on the metaverse from the World Economic Forum. Your thoughts on where the sector could go this year?
I think we talked about this the last time I was on, and I still believe that what we're seeing is a shift. These are two different markets. They're almost operating in a slightly correlated way, but operating as if they were two different entities. If you look at the price of some of the top the top NFT projects, whether that's CryptoPunks or the Bored Apes, have been very, very similar in ETH denomination, overall quite stable, and they're performing rather differently. A lot of the development that's happening right now from Yuga Labs behind Bored Apes and Punks, and some of the utility that we're seeing, as well as very traditional brands investing a lot, as we're seeing in some of the conferences you've brought up, tend to show that the space is quite bullish and has been resilient despite headwinds of its own in the last year as well. And we think that enhanced utility across some of these bigger ones, as well as some of the more traditional guys coming in, will surely mean that 2023 is going to be a good year for NFTs as well, even if it takes a while to go back to where we want it to go.
Just to break this down as simply as possible, recently we've seen Bitcoin prices going up, which, is somewhat counterintuitive given the state of the crypto market. How would you most simply describe that? Like, what's going on? Like, what do you think has been driving Bitcoin's price up recently?
I think it's a confluence of factors. We sometimes see this after December tax loss harvesting sales and things like that. People start to pick up crypto again in January. Crypto is unique in that you can actually sell and buy the same thing within a few weeks of each other, which is normally prohibited with other assets. In addition to that, like we were talking earlier, the global economy is not doing nearly as bad as we initially feared. And that is clearly having a lot of very good interest on that. The data, by the way, also shows that there has been some change of sentiment. The FTX news and the collapse was very surprising to a lot of people, and it took a while to shake that off. But at this moment, we believe that whatever disruptions may happen in the crypto market, and there are certainly a few companies that are in the crosshairs here, it will not be catastrophic. And we are on track. It's the last day of January. We're on track to having our second best January in the company's life. And the last one was the crazy bull year. And so everything seems to be going in the right direction, even if maybe we're not just out of the woods yet.
由 CoinDesk 主办的 Consensus 共识大会将于4月26号到28号在德克萨斯奥斯汀举行。专属 CoinDesk 中文社区的新年福利来了，输入折扣码大写的 Lunar New Year， 折扣高达 50%。活动于美国中部时间2月13号晚12点结束，赶快注册，尽享超低5折哦！